during the time they were in custody. On June 14th, they were taken to the Van Nuys police station. That was the closest station to where they were arrested, and that they were placed into recording cells, again, custodial cells that had recording devices. You're going to hear that her cellmate Cynthia was an undercover agent, the same type of operation that I told you about that occurred with Christopher Austin after his arrest in Vancouver, Washington. And you're going to hear that the defendant began by talking about Fabio, that he was the greatest man that ever existed, that he was loved by everybody, that he was somebody who was full of integrity and character, that he was the love of her life, which obviously was a lie, because you're going to hear she says that to Baker, that she never cheated on Fabio, which you now saw was also a lie, that she used to teach business and accounting when she and Fabio owned salons in Toronto, which is evidence of her financial knowledge. And she also talks about her computer being in their upstairs office. You'll hear about that particular item of evidence, which is an HP desktop. You'll also hear her talk about the fact that she knew Robert Baker for about 1.5 to 2 years, that he's a good friend of hers, not her boyfriend, which again is a lie, as you've seen, that she didn't want a boyfriend or a husband. However, as you heard, she was married and Baker was her boyfriend, and you're going to hear that she agreed to marry Baker, that she talks to Baker on the phone every couple days. You're going to see from the evidence that also was a lie, because they spoke multiple times every day. She tells the cellmate the opposite of what she told law enforcement, which is that Baker had been to the house many times, but they are close friends but not lovers, which, as you heard, was a lie. You'll hear the defendant again lie, saying she wasn't hiding anything, but again, you've heard for yourself and seen for yourself some of the evidence from last week and today, which indicates that's a lie. That every time she and Baker go out, they go out with a group of friends, not alone. You've now heard about the surveillance. That's another lie. That she doesn't even have or even know what an encrypted application is. Again, another lie, as I told you, she was using at least 2 of them, Viber before and WhatsApp after the murder. That she wasn't seeing Baker romantically before Fabio was killed. Again, another lie. She tells her cellmate that Baker is her confidant, her lover, her everything. And then without any prompt, she brings up on her own the murder was not for money, was not for gain, and alleges that $10,000 along with jewelry was stolen. And you'll see that when she brings that up, again, she brings that up totally spontaneously on her own, not in response to any comment or question by the cellmate. You're then going to see that the defendant continued her affair post-arrest in custody while they were positioned in cells next to each other here in the courthouse lockup. As I've mentioned, there's over 24 hours of recordings, but 0 mention of her grief over Fabio's murder or any concern about catching the real killers. I'm going to play for you now a portion of these recorded conversations in various audio clips. And again, you'll see that the defendants make mention of the fact that they're being recorded. So they make certain statements, again, in order to create certain false perceptions of their innocence. And you will see, when you see the clips, hear the clips, as well as during trial, when you hear the longer portions, that the defendant and Baker are living in their own version of reality where they believe they're somehow going to get off and live together and talk about themselves as being the victims.
son? Right.
Yes, but be quiet. Stupid as that shit sounds. We all we have. We all we have. You know, there. I love you.
Yeah. Listen to them. Don't take anything.
No. We have no defense without each other. And you need me as much as I need you.
How does it look, me writing to you after they told me they found your DNA? Did you read the part about, what's that?
No,
What's that?
you know, there's a lot of mixed feelings out there, you know. But that's an old life.
Yeah.
It's time for a new one.
Yeah.
My new one's with my baby. Baby, I'll take you to my fucking grave. I love you, I'll take the blame with me. I know, but I'll take the blame. I'll rock it.
Listen. The cameras. The cameras.
Where?
At Target. They have a camera at Payless Shoes. They have no video of you.
There was? Yeah, told me.
The video was only for a month or two.
I know. And nothing on the other one at night too. There's nothing. Only thing is a couple of drops of my DNA, and you explained that already. That he took it.
Yeah.
It broke. So I got rid of it. It was broken. It was all good.
Well, if they have whatever I wrote, I just wrote because you were not there with me when I went to Target. So I just wrote, I hope you didn't say that you were, because that's going to make me look like a liar, and I know you weren't there, so. He asked me what my plan was. My plan with you was to wait for the girls to leave, and then I was going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Be together. That was the ideal plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're trying to hold his DNA. So they think that I fell in love with you and you did this without me.
Actually, it's not true. It's the story. It's the story. I will lie to get you out of this. If I have to. What if I got to blatantly shockingly lie to a jury that they can't take it back? You take the blame. You gotta marry me. You gotta do still want to. I think you're the best candidate.
I already said that. Remember?
Nothing.
Are you sure?
Oh, no. That's why I went. That's what I'm looking for. Wait and see. But even then, it was just going out.
So I guess my opening could have been shorter. So you heard them discuss the burner phones. You heard them discuss WhatsApp and Viber, the encrypted apps that she claimed she knew nothing about. You heard them discuss the video. You heard the defendant bring up, they don't have any video of you, of us, outside of Target where the Payless store is. And then you heard her say, I hope you didn't say that you were there because I know you weren't there with me that day. Again, saying that for the cameras that they know are watching. And then you heard them discuss the lack of video on the night of 122, which I told you we didn't even know about when they were first attempting to take Fabio out at that pho, that Vietnamese restaurant in the Valley at the strip mall. And Baker said they don't have video from that night either. You also heard the defendant say to Baker, no deals. In other words, don't flip. Don't take a deal and flip on me and come in and testify against me. You heard Baker say we have no defense without one another. You heard Baker also say that he would testify if necessary and take all the blame, that he's going to take what they did to the grave. And you heard her discuss with Baker the fact that they have plans for the future to be together one way or the other. So this is evidence that you're going to hear in more detail throughout the trial. You're going to hear from the defendant and Baker in these communications where they come up with one excuse after another to say that she somehow had no idea about this plan to murder Fabio. And as you just heard, she talked about the fact that her lawyers think that she was just in love with him and he did this without her even knowing about it or her involvement. And that's the story that they're even telling to their lawyers.
Objection, argument.
Overruled.
It's what you just saw in the video yourself. This is, as I said, I've been up here.
I'm sorry.
That's a problem. That's a state objection.
After that objection, that statement wasn't proper.
I've been up here for an entire day and a half just outlining the evidence you're going to hear, such as this evidence that the defendant herself created. Here's an example of the jail mail that I told you about. This is back from June 28th of 2017. You're going to hear that and see that the defendant uses the same phrase that you just heard in the lockup overhears, ride or die. Her saying, we must do what we said we would, that I've stuck to protocol. I told you the protocol is that they're going to lie to their lawyers, they're going to lie to you, the eventual jury.
Objection, improper argument.
It is argument. Sustained.
You're going to see the evidence in the letters where they say that that's what they're planning on doing. You can see here in the bottom half where they use their own code, OMM, which means on my mind, always 100, which means 100% with all of my fiber, and you see how she signs it, Mrs. Baker with a kiss. You're also going to hear that they used pen pals. They referred to them in jail recordings as PPs and as in jail calls. This is their attempt, as you will see, to manipulate the entire jail system and the criminal justice system.
Objection, argument.
Sustained.
You're going to see that they send jail mail through other inmates' names and other inmates' booking numbers and PIN numbers in order to be able to communicate secretly so that their mail cannot be retrieved when looking for mail to them in particular. And you're going to see that only a very small portion of jail mail between them was thus recovered because of the fact that they're using other inmates' PIN numbers to communicate. You can see here a letter that was sent from a pen pal, meaning another inmate's name, where once again the defendant uses the phrase ride or die, or the initials MB, standing for Monica Baker. You can see here they use their own mutual code, RRD, standing for ride or die. Again, signing these letters, Monica Baker. You can see on the left, LOML, love of my life. LUVM, love you very much. OMM, on my mind. Again, coming up with their own way to code their messages to each other, just like they used encrypted apps to get around the system. Here you can see a sexually provocative drawing by the defendant, where she writes on the letter property of Monica Baker, claiming Baker as her own. You can see up close on the photo drawing on the right a ring on the wedding finger with Baker's initials, RB. Another jail letter. This one's August of 2017, where she tells him, I love you so very much, baby. You are my soulmate. Again, using the code LOML, love of my life. OMM, always, meaning on my mind always. Love, Monica Baker, for eternity. Again, another sexual drawing by the defendant, where she again uses R or D for ride or die. Mrs. Robert L. Baker for the signature, referring to the defendant as her husband and soulmate, and indicating in writing expressly that you are everything to me. Again, a portion of a letter where the defendant sends it to Baker, telling him that she needs him. I need all of you. I fucking love you. I can't wait to see you again, my love. Yours eternally, Monica/Madonna Baker. And this, you'll hear, was found on Baker's Dropbox as a meme for what ride or die means. A relationship where you both love and protect and spoil each other, and they're both wearing balaclavas or masks over their face with weapons. And you heard in a little portion of the jail clip I played for you a few minutes ago, where the defendant refers to himself and the defendant as Bonnie and Clyde in a courthouse lockup recording in June of 2017. And it goes on. The defendant has jail visits from her daughters, and this is a jail visit from April 8th of 2018. The defendant is showing showing her daughter an ink tattoo on the back of her neck. Her daughter Isabella asks, what does it say? And the defendant says, ride or die. As I mentioned, the defendant took great efforts to communicate with Baker without anyone else knowing, even their attorneys. You'll see through their jail calls and their mail and their three-way calls that they talk about how they're manipulating the system, and you'll see that they even use third parties outside of the jail system to make what they refer to as clean calls from other inmates' PIN numbers. They call through third parties through these other inmate PIN numbers so that these calls can't be traced back to them. So in other words, if we were to go and pull all the calls under their inmate booking numbers, these wouldn't come up. And they keep trading off using different inmates' PIN or booking numbers to make these calls. You'll hear that they made three-way calls and three-way call attempts through one of Baker's friends, a local attorney in LA by the name of Howard Lynch, or through his sister out of state, April. Each would call in from their respective jail phones, and then Baker's sister or Lynch's secretary would join the defendants on a call so they could speak together secretly. We were able to recover a few of those. You're going to hear that in September of 2017, Baker called Lynch to set up the three-way calls. He says his girlfriend is his crimey, meaning his crime partner, and they set up a schedule to call in on certain days, on Fridays. He says his girlfriend is defendant Sementilli. He calls her his girlfriend, his crimey. You'll hear on another date, both Baker and the defendant leave messages with Lynch to pass on to each other. In October of 2017, the defendant, along with Baker, connect through Baker's sister April to speak with one another. You'll hear that when they use other inmates' PIN numbers, they refer to them as clean calls. In October of 2017, October 12th, they discuss using encoded language in their Jailhouse or jail letters to one another, so other individuals in the jail system, meaning the sheriffs, will not be able to determine what it is that they're writing. You will hear that on June 28th of 2018, while in the courthouse lockup behind this courthouse, Baker managed to pass a toothpaste. As you tube here, you see fresh mint, a small-sized toothpaste tube to the defendant, along with various jail letters. You're going to hear that DNA analysis was conducted on the contents of that toothpaste tube. It was determined by the Sheriff's Crime Lab, DNA analyst Leslie Thompson, to contain Baker's semen that he was passing to the defendant. You're also going to see that cardboard cutout on the right, the defendant passed to Baker with her writing on it and sexually suggestive writing, which you will also see. On October 3rd of 2018, when they were here for another court appearance, you're going to hear that Baker left 2 separate kites or jail letters in little plastic baggies on the staircase between this floor and the 10th floor on the railing after a court appearance here. All of this was caught on videotape because all of these back areas are videotaped to look for contraband and the like. You're going to hear that these jail letters from Baker to the defendant were recovered by Deputy Miguel Balderrama. You'll hear testimony from him as well as the video. And you'll see that these letters were encrypted with their own secret code in order to communicate secretly. Again, similar to the apps they were using to scramble their words so nobody could read what they were sending or writing to each other, the same type of concept. So what you are going to see through the evidence in this case is this is a murder that was total depravity. You're going to see evidence that the defendant threw away her entire privileged life, that she destroyed her family, that she destroyed that of her daughters, that she destroyed the life of her husband's family, and that she was willing to risk everything for Robert Baker and some money. You're going to hear evidence that she abused the privileges that she was so lucky to have.
Overruled.
You're going to hear that she went from living in a beautiful home with her lovely family to lying on the floor of the jailhouse, courthouse lockup in order to pass notes and evidence back and forth to Baker, including his semen, from the guy who murdered her husband of almost 20 years and the father of her daughters. As I've said, the evidence in this case is going to clearly show the defendant has 2 separate faces. The one that she presents to the public as the loving wife and mother that you saw through the Instagram posts, and the cheating, lying, greedy manipulator that the evidence is clearly going to demonstrate she truly is. Excuse me?
I already ruled an objection.
Okay. Again, the cheating, lying, greeting manipulator that the evidence is going to demonstrate that she truly is. At the end of this case, I'm going to have the opportunity to discuss with you all of the evidence that comes in, that's going to be presented over the course of the trial, and the law that the judge is going to provide to instruct you. And at that time, my partner, DA Heather Stagel, and I are going to ask that you find the defendant guilty of the charges, that is the crime of murder of her husband, Fabio Sementilli, along with the special circumstance allegations of murder for financial gain and murder by means of lying in wait, as well as count 2, that being the conspiracy to commit murder of Fabio Sementilli. And when it comes to these special allegations, that as to the special allegations, that you find them to be true. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's have an opening statement.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. And if we may, it's going to take us a moment to set up. I don't know if this is a good time.
You can set up. While they do that, do you mind if I schmooze?
You mind if you look?
Schmooze.
No, Your Honor.
Let's go off the record.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is really my first opportunity to speak to you all directly. And I really want you to know how much I appreciate that opportunity. My name is Blair Burke, and along with my colleagues Leonard Levine, Jeremy Babich, Regina Peter, and Tom Jones, it is our privilege and our great responsibility to be representing Monica Sementilli. Monica, can you stand up, please? Representing Monica Sementilli in defending against these charges that we believe the evidence will show are untrue. Since the moment this woman was arrested 7.5 years ago, Monica has steadfastly maintained that she is innocent of these charges, and she has consistently pled not guilty in this case. Monica has from the start made clear that there was absolutely no reason, no desire that she would have ever wanted her husband Fabio to be dead. And you will see, ladies and gentlemen, with the evidence that will be presented at trial, not anything Ms. Silverman has said to you, which is certainly not evidence, nor do we believe it will be the evidence, and not anything I say right now, as the judge will instruct you. It is only the evidence you will receive at trial which you have to base any decision you make on. Over the last Friday and now Tuesday, you have heard hours of argument from Ms. Silverman about the evidence she expects to be shown in this trial. But over those hours and hours of slides and photos and notes and texts and statements about what she expects the evidence to be, you have not heard one piece of evidence, one text, one letter, one recorded call, one statement by Monica Sementilli or any indication that Monica Sementilli ever uttered a word about wanting her husband dead. We believe that the reason that Monica is not guilty of these charges is that the evidence will show that everything Ms. Silverman talked about, everything she presented before you in the last 2 days, has only to do with two things. One, that she was having an affair with Robert Baker, and two, that it turned out that Robert Baker decided that he was going to kill her husband. No reason that Monica would have wanted, no motive, and no interest, and that it was Robert Baker who made that choice for her, and then convinced her, pleaded with her, deceived her into believing he was an innocent man, and that the reason that she was caught up in this whole thing was because he had been targeted and was not guilty. Ladies and gentlemen, the evidence is going to show you that this is who Monica and Fabio Sementilli were together on October 31st, 2016. This is 4 months before Fabio was killed. And you will see for yourself the relationship between Monica and Fabio. This is a video taken in an intimate moment, not in public, not in some show of their relationship. This is their relationship. And this is who Monica and Fabio were together on January 10th, 2017. Only 2 weeks before Fabio was killed. And this is who Monica, Fabio, and their 2 daughters, Jessica and Bella, were on January 15, 2017. Just 8 days before Fabio was brutally murdered by Robert Baker and Christopher Austin. They were happy together. They were loving each other. They were close, each other's best friends, husband and wife for nearly 20 years. And absolutely no reason in the world that Monica would have wanted Fabio harmed. No reason in the world that Monica would have wanted Fabio killed. And the prosecution in this case is going to ask you to believe that Monica Sementilli suddenly went from this person to being some kind of criminal mastermind who plotted and orchestrated the brutal killing of Fabio in his own home. On behalf of Ms. Sementilli, we implore you to do one thing, which is wait until you form any opinion in this case, until you've been able to look and see the evidence in the case. Not Ms. Silverman's claim about what the evidence is, not even my claim about what the evidence is, but the evidence that will be presented in this case. The witnesses who will talk to you in this case. You decide whether it's truthful testimony. You decide whether those witnesses are believable. And that is how we have justice in the United States of America in a criminal trial. Not just because a prosecutor tells you it's so, but because the evidence either proves or doesn't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Monica has committed a crime, that Monica somehow wanted her husband dead for some reason. And over the last 2 days, I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, there has been no evidence presented to you at any time that Monica Sementilli was plotting, conspiring, or indicating to anyone before Fabio was killed or after that she wanted him dead. You will hear the evidence presented that Monica Sementilli loved her husband. You will hear from the people that knew them best, who spent time with them in the weeks and days before Fabio was killed, that they were a truly happy, loving couple. But what you've heard over the last 2 days is not evidence that somehow Monica Sementilli was plotting to kill her husband. There's no statement, there's no text, there's no recorded phone call, even as Ms. Silverman says, when Monica would have thought no one was listening. But what you have heard is hours and hours of graphic statements about the fact that Monica had an affair. What you've heard is that there will be evidence of character assassination, that somehow, because Monica was having an affair with Robert Baker without her husband's knowledge, that because Monica Sementilli was not wanting others to know about that affair and covering it up and using text messaging that she deleted about that affair, that somehow that is supposed to prove to you that Monica Sementilli is guilty of murder, that Monica Sementilli is guilty somehow of conspiring to kill her husband because she had an affair. We have not, from the start of this case 7.5 years ago, ever once contested that Monica Sementilli probably made the most fatal mistake of her life when she entered into an affair with Robert Baker. But that has nothing to do with Monica wanting Fabio dead or conspiring to kill him. There's going to be evidence that after Fabio was murdered, in her grief, the person who stepped up to replace Fabio, to control Monica, to surveil her, to get her to be the center of his world by making himself the center of her world, is Robert Baker. And you will hear evidence over and over and over again about the fact that Monica was duped into believing that Robert Baker had nothing to do with Fabio's death. But in the beginning, you will hear the most important evidence, which is what Fabio and Monica were together prior to his being killed. What you will hear from the people who knew them best, many of them prosecution witnesses, who will tell you that they spent extensive time with this couple in their home, in unguarded moments. And you will hear also from Fabio and Monica's own daughters. Jessica, who was 18 at the time her dad was killed, Bella, who was 16. And ladies and gentlemen, you will hear from those two girls who will look you in the eye and tell you what they observed what they saw of their mom and dad together, what they observed, what they saw of their mom's caring and love for their father, what they observed, what they saw of their parents' interaction with each other, not just out at a restaurant, not just at a party, but at home, at night, in their most unguarded moments. And what you will hear, ladies and gentlemen, is that there is not a whiff of evidence. There is not a suggestion by any witness you'll hear from that Monica and Fabio ever had any conflict with one another. They had no beefs. They had no resentments. You will hear time and again from the witnesses in this case of Monica Sementilli's caring for her husband, closeness to her husband, and it will be clear from that evidence that Monica Sementilli had absolutely no reason to want her husband to be harmed. You'll also hear, because of Fabio's employment, they did have financially a very secure life. There were no worries about money. They weren't rich, but they had bought their own home. Yes, it was mortgaged heavily, but Fabio had a good job. And as long as he was working and had a salary, that salary allowed them to lead a lifestyle that was comfortable and great. And you heard from the Silverman about the perks and the salary of that job, but you will also hear that those perks and salary would only be forever if Fabio Sementilli was alive. And what you will also hear, ladies and gentlemen, is that those perks, that travel that Ms. Silverman talked about, that Monica and Fabio so enjoyed, that lifestyle was not one that anybody believed was fake or a show or a put on. Every single witness in this case who will come in here and testify to you about the genuineness of Monica's love for Fabio, caring for Fabio, and time with Fabio, and Fabio's care and love of her will consistently tell you that that love was real. That friendship, being each other's close friends and co-parents, and the pride they had